In a world of magic, the powers and future of a mage are predetermined at birth through so-called marks, 4 symbols that categorize a human's aptitude for magic. Lamenting the fact that his mark was considered ill-suited for combat and only useful for magic augmentation, an incredibly skilled sage decided to reincarnate thousands years in the future, reborn as Mathias Hildesheimer, a 6-year-old boy and the 3rd son of a duke's family. He attains the mark of close combat he always desired. Unfortunately, it is also discovered that mankind's knowledge of magic and swordsmanship has drastically deteriorated in this era. Only shoddy magic equipment can be sporadically found, while even the most basic spells have been forgotten. To add insult to injury, his current mark, once hailed as the most powerful, is now viewed as the worst. When Mathias becomes 12 years old, his unrivaled swordsmanship lands him in the Second Royal Academy. Shattering prejudices, he promptly makes ripples in the academy and beyond. However, the former sage uncovers signs of dark forces working in the shadows, and with humanity weaker than ever, it is up to Mathias to thwart their evil plans. A man named Gaius goes against a monster, and with his overwhelming power, he takes the monster down effortlessly. He knows it's of no use as his crest has no room for growth. Gaius possesses 3 crests. The first crest specializes in creation, the second specializes in power, and the third specializes in rapid firing. He believes that for him to grow stronger, he has to acquire the 4th crest, which is best suited to combat. A person's crest appears at birth and cannot be changed, and because of this, Gaius reincarnates far into the future. A young boy is riding with his father to the capital, and his father tells him that it's impressive that he's leaving home and taking exams at age 12. He tells his father that he is determined to enter the academy and become strong. The young boy suddenly senses a monster from afar heading their way. He describes the monster to his dad, but his dad laughs it off, telling him that he says the strangest things. His father tells him that it would make it a calamity-grade monster from his description, and to his surprise, the calamity-grade monster appears in front of them, but the young boy takes it down successfully, using his enhanced physique and sunder steel skill. They arrive at the capital, and while the young boy is taking a look around, he enters a shop where they make swords and meets a young girl who is asking for her friend's magic sword to be remade, but the store owner dismisses her, telling her that she can't possibly be serious. The young boy takes a look around and notices that although the swords are well made, the enchantments are poorly applied. The girl continues to plead with the man, telling him that the entrance exams will happen the next day and that she needs to get the sword. The man tells her that she might have better luck elsewhere if he needs it that fast, as it's not as if he can forge a magic sword by himself. He asks her if one of the ready-made swords can do the work, and she tells him that it has to be long and light enough for a girl to swing around with one hand. He tells her that such a sword would have to be enchanted and won't be easy to make. The young boy offers to handle the enchantment, even though his 4th crest isn't well suited to enchantments. The man sees his 4th crest and calls it the Crest of Failure. He tells him that it's the more reason why it's impossible, but the girl insists on him making a sword for her, one with a setting for a magistone. While the man was making the sword, she introduced herself to the young boy as Alma Lapucius, and he introduced himself as Mathias Hildesheimer, but Matty for short. She tells him she has a friend who owns the sword in the making. Alma's friend Lurie walks in asking her if she had any luck at this shop. Alma introduces Matty to Lurie. She tells her that Matty offered to enchant the sword for them. Matty and Lurie are stunned seeing each other, and Lurie introduces herself to him as Lurie Abendroth. The sword is finally done, and Matty does the enchantment on the sword. The only way to make something this long and light sturdy enough for live combat is to add enhanced fortitude and sunder steel. Matty does it with ease without even reciting an incantation, and they are all surprised. He gives them to test it out, and just by Lurie dragging it across the table, it slices the table into 2. They are all shocked seeing this, and Matty tells them that it's just standard enchantment. The practical exams begin, and the fields to be tested include swordsmanship and casting. Matty also takes the practical exam, and Lurie meets with him. Alma complains that she did fine in every other subject, except the tactics portion, which she found to be hard. Lurie encourages that they all work together to pass the test. While Lurie is sparring with her opponent, she cuts his sword with her, forcing him to surrender. Matty's turn comes next, and his opponent knows him well, and even knows he was the one who enchanted Lurie's sword. Matty faces the examiner himself, and the examiner tells him that he would like to see what his father, Castor, taught him as well. Matty is surprised that the examiner knows his father, and the examiner tells him that he'll vouch for him to pass, regardless of the other test scores, if he handles himself well enough against him. They draw out their swords, and Matty notices the examiner's stance is wide open, open, and he thinks the examiner might be taking it easy on him. He feels a little insulted by this, as he believes the purpose of a test is to show what he can do. He charges towards the examiner, and the examiner is shocked to see a young boy parrying his strike. They continue to duel until Matty forces the examiner to surrender by hitting his sword out of his hands. Everyone is surprised to see the captain of the Knight's Order, Gaius, lose. The casting exam follows, and Luri is the first person called to step forward. She is told to attack all 5 targets with fire arrow. She does the incantation and fires them one by one. Incanted casting is a method for casting spells through the recitation of particular words. It is a skill that anyone can use regardless of ability, but has a poor conversion rate on the user's magic power, leaving the user vulnerable to attacks mid-chant and not ideal for combat. Luri possesses the Crest of Glory. In this day and age, the first crest, which is highly compatible with incanted casting, is labeled the Crest of Glory and considered the best crest for magical combat. When it is Matty's turn, he asks if the fire arrow is the only allowed spell, and he is told that it's not necessarily, but it's the most basic spell. The examiner sees that he possesses the 4th crest, which is the Crest of Failure, and tells him that he might still pass if he does well in other subjects. Matty confirms if the aim is to destroy the targets from a long range, he tells the examiner to stand a bit farther. The Crest of Failure casting has an extremely limited range, and with that, he might not even be able to reach a third of the way to the target, so he creates a magic circle without casting, hoping to assign it a limited directionality that wouldn't be free of collateral damage. He fires a huge flame that explodes midway and eats the ground, but the explosion hits away the targets. Matty gets accepted into the school, alongside Luri and Alma. At the opening ceremony, the headmaster addresses them. He introduces himself as Edward, and tells them that formality belongs to the first academy, but for them at the second academy, ability is everything. He tells Matty to drop by his office when the assembly is over. Matty wonders why the headmaster would be calling for him, and when he gets to Edward's office, Edward tells him that he's sure there's a deeper reason why someone his age is so powerful, even if Castor, being his father, explains it a little. He tells him that he won't pry into it but asks for his aid. He tells him that wordless spells are a lost casting style, and he has been hoping to revive such techniques at the second academy, but the only thing stopping him is their sister academy in the capital, the First Royal Academy. They have had no choice but to follow their curriculum because the nobility endorses their teaching, which has a proven track record. Their proven track record only talks about incanted spells, which is the only form of casting accepted in academia, while wordless casting is rejected. The only way to get wordless casting accepted is by proving its power at the next inter-school competition. Edward wants Matty to teach them wordless casting. At the next class, the teaching begins, and Matty is introduced as the special guest instructor. He demonstrates wordless casting to them, and the students are surprised. The instructor tells them that Matty isn't the only one who could use wordless casting, so he introduces Mr. Gaius. Gaius demonstrates it for them, but it isn't as accurate as that of Matty. He tells them that Matty's teachings got him that far in just a day, and the students start training. Luri runs out of magic while she's training, so Matty has her stretch out her palm, while he places his palm on hers to transfer magic to her. Matty ended up teaching wordless casting to all the students, and after a month, the inter-school competition started. Luri tells Matty that she hopes there are no magical chosen ones this year at the inter-school competition. The magical chosen ones are what they call the leaders at the first academy, with extremely strong casting abilities. She tells him that every year when it seems like the second academy might win, one of these magical chosen ones appears. Matty senses one of them around with roughly 10 times his magic power, and Alma tells him that something like that would be a demon. She tells him that demons are so strong that even the court magicians working together probably couldn't beat one. Matty walks out to the battleground and faces Devilus, one of the magical chosen ones. The first academy winning this competition will make it their 65th win in a row. Devilus possesses a Crest of Glory. Matty suspects that Devilus is a demon who is using a disguise spell to hide his true form, and even has a fake crest to let him walk with humans. The 65th Inter-Academy competition commences. Lasus and Gaius start the attack, but they get defeated by Matty. Devilus sees this and mistakenly casts a spell before starting his chant, and this shocks everyone. Matty attacks him at close range with his sword, making Devilus fly backward, while he casts another wordless casting that proves him to be a spell-casting demon pretending to use incantations. The demons are the cause of magical decline, as they want human spells to be as weak as possible and have infiltrated the academy long ago. to have the fourth crest declared the Crest of Failure. Davilas is shocked at Maddie's strength, and Maddie breaks his disguise, revealing his true demon form. The headmaster of the first academy is shocked to see Davilas's true form, and Edward orders the students to be evacuated. Maddie cuts off Davilas' wings before he can escape, defeating him in the process. Davilas thought he drove the demons to the brink of extinction in his previous life as Gaius the Sage, and seeing this, he knows there's a problem in this present day and age. Mathias is the third son of the Hildesheimer family, and after reincarnating into this current world, he noticed that what used to be the strongest crest is now deemed as the weakest. Lurie runs to hug Maddie, telling him that she's glad he's safe. Alma walks up to her and asks her if she knows what she's doing. Maddie meets with Edward and tells him that beating a demon isn't that big of a deal. Edward replies that no one in history has ever single-handedly dispatched a demon. The both of them meet with the king, and they carry out the necessary formalities and greetings with Maddie introducing himself. The king tells him that he is impressed by his defeat of the demon, and under normal circumstances, he would send word of Maddie's meritorious deed far and wide and grant him a fief, but a public proclamation would make it known that demons have infiltrated the ranks, and it could stir mass panic. Maddie doesn't want a fief because the reason for his reincarnation is for him to get stronger, and he doesn't want to waste his time managing a bunch of land, so he asks the king for anything else. The king thinks about offering him a magic sword with a double enchantment, one that was enchanted by a passing child, but he finds the reward insufficient, so he asks Mathias if there is anything else he desires. Maddie requests for rights to all resources found in the kingdom's dungeons, and the king clarifies if he means the ore that lies within them and their monsters. Maddie affirms it and tells the king that he's asking for a monopoly. Dungeons are a kingdom's greatest asset, even superior to high-quality gold mines. Kingdoms would go to war over dungeons in the past, but since magical knowledge has waned, Maddie believes they may not know the true worth of dungeons. The king grants Maddie's wish and considers his reward settled. He tells Mathias that the 4 magical chosen ones present in the kingdom have all vanished, including Erhard, the last captain of the Mage's Order. Magical chosen ones first began to appear several hundred years ago, and this means that demons have been infiltrating the kingdom for centuries. The king tells him that it seems he has driven the demons away from their kingdom, and he asks Maddie if it means the threat has left. Maddie tells him that if the unmasking caused the magical chosen ones to flee, then it's a sign that they see no value in maintaining the masquerade, meaning their next move may be to gather their forces and lay waste to the kingdom. Maddie predicts it will take the demons approximately 3 months to gather their forces together. He tells the king that they just need to cover the whole kingdom in a barrier before then, and use a divine-class artifact to project a permanent barrier. He advises the king to allow them to continue teaching wordless magic, and the king has no choice but to put his trust in him. He appoints Mathias as the leader of the fight against the demons. Mathias is given free access to all he needs for the creation of the barrier. While he checks around, he notices a sword that was found in an ancient ruin. He studies the magic pattern of the sword and notices that it was a sword that he made in his past life, one from when he was obsessed with making magic swords. He picks up the sword and notices that it's tougher than orichalcum and perfect for the barrier's core. He also picks up a pendant from his past life that increases the gains granted by experience points. The students are getting a hang of the wordless magic. Maddie takes his time to improve humanity before he can make himself properly strong. Lurie and Alma walk up to Maddie, telling him that the headmaster told them that he's making a barrier to protect the kingdom. He tells them that he'll be heading to a dungeon to collect the materials needed, and suddenly he remembers that it's always better to have a party in dungeons, so he asks that the both of them join his party. They ask him if he's sure they wouldn't hold him back, as they also plan on getting stronger. Alma is bad when it comes to using swords, but she's good at using bows. Maddie tells her that bows are great for magical combat, and he demonstrates it to her while he infuses the arrow with magic. He tells her that it is a simple magic enchant and encourages her to try it out, telling her that she has the Crest of Standard, which is the ideal crest for magical archery. They both accept to join his party, hoping that they get to learn more about enchantments. Maddie sees the party as a well-balanced one, with him holding the front line, Alma reinforcing him from behind, and Lurie offering support. Lurie and Alma had no idea that there was a dungeon beneath the academy. When they entered, Maddie told them that the environmental features and monster strength differed floor by floor, with the ground floor being the weakest. He picks a small monster for them to practice with, and he teaches Alma how to infuse magic in her arrow, teaching her different tricks that can even help the arrow change its course mid-air. The skill that changes the arrow's path mid-air is called a thread-guided enchant. Magistones appear when monsters are slain, and Maddie tells Alma to train until she's able to defeat 2 monsters with 1 shot. While Alma is gone looking for monsters, Maddie teaches Luri how to make her weapons. He gives her crude dungeon ore for her to use to make her weapon. She is expected to refine it to extract metal for the weapons. After following the process of refining the crude dungeon ore, she gets pure clusters of iron and mithril, which she uses to create a weapon. Alma can kill 3 monsters at once with her arrows, so she decides to head back. When she gets back, she is shocked to see how far Luri has gone, breaking down walls with enchanted swords she created. Maddie tells them that they will be going to the 10th floor for them to use as a test to see how much they've learned. On the 10th floor, they were first faced with multiple snail monsters. Luri tries attacking it first with her wide-ranged fire attack, but it doesn't work. Alma tries next with her arrow, and she ends up taking all of them out. Alma and Luri make a good pair as Luri creates arrows for Alma to fire at the monsters. Maddie's pendant consolidates the magic power of defeated monsters to increase the experience points gained by his party. A big killer dog suddenly faces them, and Maddie tells them to be careful and that the killer dogs are exponentially stronger than the monsters they've fought so far. Luri and Alma pair up together, and they take down the killer dog. Maddie suggests that they set up camp, that is, create a barrier to establish a safe area of rest. He does this by infusing a magistone with his magic power. He tells them to rest there, while he goes to the lower floors to get the adamantite that he needs for the barrier. He tells them he is going down to the 25th floor, and Alma is surprised because the deepest anyone has gone in the dungeon is the 23rd floor. She tells him that the only person to do it was the legendary 30-man party under the protection of Gaius, a divine being of magic. When he hears her mention his name, he wonders if it's a mistake. Maddie heads down to the deeper floors and can get the rock containing adamantite. He senses a powerful monster around, known as the floor boss. Floor bosses are the leading cause of party mortality, and even with less magic power than the average mage from his past life, he was able to charge in with all his knowledge, experience, and wits to slay the floor boss. With a triple casting, he cuts down the arc serpent, but it has no effect until he uses a little trick by shattering a magistone and gathering them all onto his blade, and using the blade to cut down the serpent. And even the demons on the other floor felt the wave. Maddie and his party members go to sell some goods they picked up in the dungeon, and they attract a lot of attention just by them being students of the Second Academy. The attendant asks them if the Crest of Failure bearer is acting as their porter. Maddie replies that he's certainly porting his fair share. He brings in the head of the arc serpent and tells her that he would like to sell it. The attendant is surprised to see someone use the storage spell, as she has always heard the rumors but never believed them to be true. He brings out a huge magistone also for sale, and when the attendant sees it, she says the magistone could qualify as a national treasure. He tells them that he got it by defeating the arc serpent, and it's not big to him. He tells them that he'll need a bigger one to use for the barrier. The attendant tells him that she's not sure her guild can afford all of this. They were given 750 gold, and Maddie suggests they split the proceeds into 3 equal parts, even though parties are supposed to split proceeds based on individual contribution. Maddie notices something sharp within him, and he tells the girls that they will have to get back to the academy immediately. The both of them also notice the magical aura, and judging by it, they know that 2 demons are heading for the Second Academy. Ashril and Deshril arrive at the Second Academy, intending to test Maddie's mettle after he defeats Devilus. Maddie can sense that one of the demons is on the weak end, while the other is stronger than Devilus, so he decides to handle the strong one and leave the weaker one to them. He encourages them to take on the task, telling them that they're strong enough for it at their current level. He tells them that he has a plan, and he just needs them to buy time, while he takes out the stronger one. Ashril decides that they'll first start with a spell from above, but before he can finish speaking, Maddie already launched an attack on Deshril. Maddie couldn't deal damage on Deshril, and he knows he'll need enhancements to defeat it. Ashril fires a direct hit at Maddie, and Maddie evades the flame attack. Maddie doesn't have much magic power, so he decides to use that of the enemy by taking control of his spell. Maddie uses the same fire to burn Ashril, but Ashril snaps out of it almost immediately. Luri fires 2 enchanted arrows with a spell to Deshril to disrupt his magic power and slow him down. Ashril tells Deshril to take care of the girls, while he takes care of Maddie. This is just as Maddie had planned, and Ashril uses a large-scale spell that would outrightly destroy Maddie's control spell, that he uses to take control of his opponent's spell. But before he can fire the attack, Maddie casts a spell into the circle's weak point and cancels the spell. He charges in and strikes Ashril, forcing them to have a little sword fight, one that Maddie wins effortlessly. Having picked up so much combat experience in his past life, Ashriel tries using a flight spell, but Maddie already has full control over his casting. As Maddie tries to charge in, Ashriel reveals his concealed casting at point-blank range, and they continue to spar against each other. Maddie uses an occlusion orb, which is a spell that contracts the body's magical power, conduits and stymies the flow. If this is cast on someone concentrating vast amounts of magic power, then the magic is denied an outlet, and it runs wild within them. Ashriel is knocked down, and when he stands up, he is about to cast a demon-exclusive spell that trades one's life for a vast horde of monsters, but Maddie seals it and defeats Ashriel successfully. Lurie and Alma continue to do their job well, releasing a disruption arrow at the demon as it approaches, and then withdrawing quickly. Maddie goes in to finish the fight using Light of Death magic that can slay a demon in one strike. Instead of the original spell, Maddie uses a simple light spell that is designed to look like that because he can't cast the real thing at his current magic levels. As Deshril tries to run away, Maddie tells Alma to fire an arrow to disrupt Deshril while he goes in to cut off his wings, defeating him successfully. The public is surprised to see the Academy students defeat 2 demons, and while they all keep talking about it, Maddie grabs the girls and uses a movement spell to take them away. Maddie, the girls, and Edward meet with the king, and he congratulates them. He asks Mathias for whatever he needs, and Mathias requests for more dungeons. The king grants his wish, telling him that he'll get as many as he can find him. He asks Lurie and Alma for their requests, and both of them request for money, with Alma saying that money can never be too much. Maddie notices that they're being watched by demons, even though they're not technically there. He calls out the demon, and when the demon doesn't answer, he uses a spell that shocks the demon and forces it to scream. The king recognizes the voice to be that of Erhard, the former captain of the Mage's Order. Maddie tells the king that Erhard was able to listen on in this room, using a fixed magical interface, which is a spell that allows for long-range surveillance. Although Maddie dealt damage to it, he was unable to finish Erhard off. Maddie describes a location from the palace, and he asks the king if there's anything special there, as he had felt a reaction from that region. When he destroyed the magical interface, the king tells him that it's the location of a village that was once destroyed by demons, and Maddie tells him that it's the hideout of the demons. Maddie suggests they visit the demons, but the village is so far that it would take half a year to travel normally, and Maddie's teleportation spell wouldn't take them far because of his crest. The headmaster ordered the students to get materials that would be needed for the barrier, including 1.5 tons of mithril, before Mathias and his party returned. Maddie and his party head out to get the demons. Maddie first takes them to an unknown location in the mountains to negotiate with Iris, the legendary darkness dragon. He tells the 2 of them to wait while he goes in to negotiate. Iris was a member of the dragons that picked a fight with Gaius, but she surrendered early on, so he let her go. Iris doesn't recognize Maddie, so she tries to attack him, but Maddie uses a disruption spell to stop the attack, and it surprises Iris. She is also surprised that he could speak to a dragon, and he tells her that he's the reincarnation of Gaius. She apologizes to him, telling him that it was a big misunderstanding. He tells her that he needs to slay some demons that are far away, and asks if she could take them there. Iris tells him that she might not be able to take them there as her wings are in bad condition, an injury she got from the series of magic reactors that exploded in the human kingdom after he died to reincarnate, and it sent humans back to the Stone Age. He fixes her wings and tells her to keep his reincarnation between them. He calls Lurie and Alma to come forward to meet with Iris. Iris picks them up and transports them. While they're flying, Maddie tells her to fly as fast as humans can handle, and Iris measures it based on Gaius's old friend Reuter, the divine being of swords. Maddie tells her to roll it back to 1/500th of the speed she was about to go. Maddie arrives at the village where the demons are and takes down the first demon he encounters. He senses 2 demons, one being Erhard that won't be much of a problem for Maddie. The other has a more powerful magical signature than Ashriel, but since his magic is fully recovered now, Iris finds it hard to land, so she crashes instead because it has been long since she has flown. When they enter, Maddie uses a telepathy spell that allows them to converse with thoughts alone and coordinate in battle. He tells both of them to handle the offense this time and gives them a casting circle that will help them get the job done. Maddie tells them to stay put and just listen as the enemy is hiding, using a concealment spell so they can't see them. He asks them if there's anywhere that seems devoid of magic, and Lurie senses a particular corner to be devoid of magic, but she can't find the other one, so Maddie tells her not to worry about it. Maddie uses a disruption spell to reveal Erhard, while Alma fires her arrow at him. Edward breaks the arrow, telling them that the little arrows can't hurt a demon. He asks Matty why he wouldn't attack him, and concludes that he's the fake one because the real one was just at the capital and couldn't get to the destroyed village in that time frame. Erhard charges in at Matty, and Matty locks him down, while Alma continues to fire her arrows at him. The arrows start to kick in as Erhard begins to feel sluggish. The magic circle that Luri uses in the creation of the arrow uses magitoxin, which causes a demon's internal magical power to agglutinate, and the spell is designed to activate only after it's sufficiently amassed. Erhard buffs up and uses his demon ace called Disfortune. This skill uses every last drop of their magic, causing them to die, but in exchange, it increases their magic power and strength. Erhard chases after Luri and Alma to kill them, but unknown to him, Matty already used a disguise spell, and it makes him chase after an illusion. Alma dealt the final blow using her arrow, completely defeating Erhard in the process. Matty tells the girls to go back and wait for him outside with Iris in the sky, while he goes to face the other demon himself. Matty holds 3 Magistone and crushes one to release magic into the surrounding air, enough to cause magical calamity. He crushes the 3 Magistone, and it would normally cause monsters to appear in large numbers, but if there's a mist demon in the surrounding air, it just forces them to materialize. This trick Matty just used forced the mist demon to materialize. The demon warns Matty that he's on a different level from Erhard, and Matty tells him that he's aware of that and he doesn't plan on dying. The demon launches the first attack, forcing Matty to be defensive. The demon cuts off Matty's right hand, which he uses to hold his sword, and he walks up to him, telling him that he believes it's over now. He tells Matty that he'll grant him the mercy of choosing how he'll die. Matty tells him that he doesn't plan on dying for thousands of years at least. After Matty's analysis was completed, he rejoins his arm after imbuing it with a recovery and analysis spell. Matty starts to attack the monster, using the same toxin he used on Erhard. This makes the demon use the magic circuit overclock, which is similar to the Disfortune spell, but more advanced with a lower chance of the demon dying to the recoil. Matty uses a spell that nullifies the magic circuit overclock, forcing the demon to return to its mist state, and uses a spell that turns anything it touches to mist, but Matty cancels the spell. Matty tells him that through his analysis earlier on, he can devise countermeasures. Earlier on, when the demon thought he was hit with the toxin, Matty used a spell to disrupt his control over his magic, to force him to draw excess magic from his surroundings, forcing him to explode. The demon explodes, and a dragon vein pillar is revealed. Dragon vein pillars are conduits of magic power that run through the earth. Given the spell carved into this pillar, the objective of the demons was to bring a horde of monsters by holing up there so they could tap into the dragon vein and generate the horde of monsters at the capital. The explosion that Matty forced the demon to encounter shifted the spell by 10 kilometers away from the capital, but they will still need the Academy's help to dispel it. They head back to the capital, and Iris uses a spell that turns demons into humans. Matty returns Erhard's horns to Edward, and Edward tells him that his rewards might empty the treasury sooner or later. Matty tells Edward that he wants to speak to him about something else. He asks if he could accept Iris as his transfer student. Edward tells him that he'll give her a chance, but she'll not be given any special treatment, and she'll have to take the transfer exam and need to score a 47 out of 50 at least. Matty is sure the test isn't a problem for Iris, but he offers to watch the test just in case anything goes wrong, because Iris has just become human and might not have full control over her casting, as she can blow up the second academy before she qualifies if she lets her dragon power fly. Matty still hasn't told Edward about the dragon vein pillar and the monster horde to prevent any panic, so he decides to wait till after Iris's transfer exam. He applied a pattern on Iris's hand, like a crest, just like that of the first demon earlier on. Iris completely fails the written exams, but in the practical exam, Gaius, captain of the Knight's Order, is her examiner, and they begin the swordsmanship. When they start, Iris's sword falls, and she runs to pick it up. Gaius runs after her and tells her not to turn her back at the enemy, and as he tries to strike her, she catches his sword with her bare hand, telling him that she said he should wait. He wonders how strong she is as she raises him with his sword and bats him away with her sword into the roof of one tower. During the casting exam, she looks at the 5 targets and tells Edward that it's too small. The first attack she fires misses its direction and turns towards the people at her back, forcing Matty to create a shield of protection. She tries it the second time and misses the target again, this time blowing it up in the air. When she tries the third time, Matty already puts a shield around them, and Iris blows up the entire ground. Matty asks Edward for his verdict, and Edward replies that his verdict is that she's bizarre, so he passes her. The materials gathering for the barrier. doesn't look like it's going smoothly, as there are not enough crests of glory, and most of the crests of glory in the kingdom are enrolled at the First Academy. Maddie suggests they ask the First Academy for help, and Edward tells him it would be difficult as both academies haven't gotten along. He tells Maddie that he'll ask the king to intervene. Edward summons the headmaster of the First Academy, as ordered by the king. The headmaster of the First Academy tries to prove superiority by saying they have more crest of glory, but Edward tells him to drop the hogwash and let them get to the matter at hand. He tells him it's about the barrier they're putting up over the kingdom to keep out the demons. He asks for the aid of the First Academy's Crest of Glory users in refining the ore. The First Academy's headmaster refuses instantly, as he can't stand the thought of them working with the Second Academy. Edward tells him that it's about time he re-evaluated his views on the Crest, as they have proved themselves in the inter-school competition. The headmaster tells him that the results of the match were negated due to demonic interference. Edward reminds him that the student was from his academy. Maddie suggests that they redo the competition, and the loser does whatever the winner asks. The headmaster of the First Academy accepts it, but adds a condition that forbids Maddie and his party members from participating. Maddie says it's fine by him. The competition starts in 2 days, and Maddie is determined to shut the First Academy up once and for all. The First Academy went all out regarding the competition, and Maddie already planned on sending in Iris if any of them seemed dangerous, but he didn't sense any demon amidst them. The participants of the First Academy are their finest Crest of Glory students, while the Second Academy provides just 5 of them, against the large number from the First Academy. 1 Crest of Failure, 2 Crest of Lesser, and 2 Crest of Standard students. The competition begins, and while the students of the First Academy are still casting spells, the Second Academy students already blast them away with their wordless castings, completely defeating them. The headmaster of the First Academy still refuses to accept the result, saying that they're beasts. Edward tells him that the king ordered them to switch to wordless casting and asks him why the First Academy is still using incanted spells. The headmaster replies that he must protect the kingdom's educational principles from pathetic crests of failure and mediocre crests of standard, and says he might go as far as disobeying the king's order to do so. The king hears this from above and asks if he would dare such a thing. He orders the royal guard to seize the headmaster and commands the students of the First Academy to work with the Second Academy onwards to receive education in wordless casting and assist them with the plan in progress. Maddie and his party go to gather magistone that they will need for the core of the barrier. A 60-centimeter one would be needed for the core, and Maddie tells them that it shouldn't be that hard to find. He tells them that Iris is a dragon, so she likely has a magistone exceeding 80 centimeters, but he doesn't plan on taking hers. He tells them that the other way to get one is by summoning a monster. Alma and Lurie take down different wolves and are coming along nicely except for Iris, who has poor control over her power. They are currently on the 17th floor, and Iris tells them that someone she used to know made it to the 654th floor. That was Maddie in his past life. Maddie tells Lurie to form a casting circle around the magistone while they summon the monster. He tells Iris to infuse the magistone with magic, and she has to do it slowly because too much could lead to disaster. Iris infuses a lot of magic into the magistone in a shorter time, and they end up summoning a monster that is beyond what the floor can handle. The monster can easily give them 60-centimeter magistone. Iris launches the first attack, but she gets batted away. Maddie asks her if she could talk down the monster, and she calls the dragon a winged lizard and tells it to just die. The dragon replies that it would kill her, so he starts to attack her. Calling a dragon a winged lizard is the most offensive thing one can say. Maddie tells Iris to keep drawing the dragon's attention, while Alma fires her arrows at it. Matty goes on to set up casting circles on many magistones. When the dragon notices Alma and Lurie, Matty tells Iris to protect them, and she does just that by punching the dragon in its face. The dragon smashes Iris into the ground. Matty tells her that it's the reason why she should block every hit. She tells him that it is weird that the dragon hasn't used dragon's breath yet, and Matty tells her that he's using his magic to block it. Dragons have tough skin that can't be penetrated with arrows and are not vulnerable to the toxins Matty used on the demons. Matty has the choice of telling Iris to turn to a dragon to fight this dragon, but it would put a lot on her shoulders, considering that she can't control her power properly too. The method Matty currently employs with the Magistones and the magic circles is the best way to beat the dragon. Matty tells Iris to make the dragon use its dragon's breath. She provokes the dragon and forces it to use its dragon's breath. Matty activates his magic, which uses the dragon's breath and inverts its direction and attributes to destroy the dragon with its spell. The dragon is successfully defeated and they get the Magistone. Maddie asks Iris if she would like to join their party officially, and Iris accepts, while Lurie and Alma are happy about it. They carry out training to improve their party's teamwork. Maddie ruined a portion of the school grounds to help Iris get used to her human body, as she's bad about watching her footing, and training on uneven ground would help her establish some muscle memory. They begin the training with Iris running around with a shell on her head, while Alma tries to fire down the shell on her head. Lurie's training is to make equipment for Maddie, to level up her enchantments. Maddie teaches her how to layer various materials to form a blade, and she gets the process. They test the equipment she made, and they all prove to be extremely powerful. Maddie is determined to leave the school if all things go well as he had planned. Edward announces the commencement of the operation to cover the royal capital in a barrier, and while Maddie would be busy with the barrier, the wordless casters are the ones tasked with defending the capital. He urges them to give it their all, and they start the mission. They detect the casting of demons through the communication team, and Maddie tells them that it's probably a demonic transportation spell called Magirode. He asks Lurie and Alma to take care of it, and they head out for it. On getting to the scene, Alma reminds Lurie that Maddie said that it is a sign of demons coming when the magic power starts swelling. Maddie already told Lurie to make special metal arrows for Alma against the demons, and she can think of what spells to imbue in them by herself. He tells her that it is important to read the situation on the fly in live combat and work out the ideal casting circles herself. Lurie makes special arrows for Alma that seem sturdy. As soon as the demons start making their way in, Alma fires her arrows to take them down, and the one that refuses to go down, Lurie uses her sword to cut him down, successfully defeating the monsters. They feel a magical surge from the capital and decide to head back. Maddie tells them that the magical surge is what he expected, as it is a more advanced version of Magirode that sacrifices a demon to achieve long-range travel. But since demons have no spirit of self-sacrifice, they probably sacrificed the weakest of their group. Lurie asks him what they should do, and he tells her that the demons will likely appear above the Second Academy, but he'll need them to buy him time, as the barrier isn't near its completion. The two of them head out while Iris delivers 40 boxes of mithril. Alma and Lurie meet Edward at the battleground, and he shows them the Magistones for casting circles that Maddie left for Lurie, so that she doesn't have to worry about messing up. Massive magic readings were suddenly detected above the academy, and a demon called Belias came in from the sky, determined to send the students into the grave together no matter their number. He launches a large-scale fire attack at them, but they use a defense spell to stop the fire from getting to them. The Crest of Standards and Crests of Lesser launch their attacks, but it couldn't reach Belias as he is out of range. Alma's arrows also have no effect because the demon catches the arrow in mid-air. Lurie's enchantment isn't going so well because of the complex casting circle she's using, so she asks Alma to buy her more time. Belias fires another larger scale attack at them and tells them that there is a difference in power. Even though they might have learned wordless casting, they were able to hold it back with their defense spell. Lurie continues to fail until her last piece of Magistone, where she gives it her all, ending up making one arrow that Alma fires at Belias to pierce through his chest from his back. At this opening, the others fire their attack on Belias and defeat it completely. Another demon comes out looking a little surprised that they took out Belias. The demons that appeared in the air were now of a large number, so they launched a larger scale attack on the students, one which the students were not able to defend themselves against. Alma stands up against them with the last arrow she has, just to buy more time for Maddie's arrival. Lurie enchants the arrow, and the demons make it a competition among themselves on who can kill the most, but before they start, Maddie already arrived. Maddie starts to attack the demons, and he takes all of them out using the sword Lurie made for him earlier on. Edward commends him for taking down the demons. Maddie already finished digging the hole for the barrier, while Iris and the others are handling the rest. When they are done, Maddie adds the Magistone, and the barrier above the capital comes up. Maddie tells them that they aren't done yet, as there are still a ton of monsters to be taken down, as a result of the spell that the demons set up before summoning monsters. Edward tells the students that the barrier would only keep the capital safe and not the surrounding towns, so they have to stop all the monsters there. A lot of monsters run towards the capital, but they end up falling into the traps and magic items that Maddie and his party members set up, which spares the students a lot of fighting. The students of the Second Academy have grown vastly, and they wouldn't lose to low-level monsters. Iris notices 3 big monsters, and Edward tells the students to retreat, while Maddie and his party members take over from there. The girls take down the monsters efficiently, while Maddie focuses on a more powerful enemy. A monster known as Void Eater appears. It devours monsters around it to grow, and Maddie allows it to absorb the monsters in the area. When the Void Eater is about finished, Maddie gives Luri a pattern to carve into a Magistone for them to throw at the Void Eater. The casting circle is to drive its evolution in a particular direction and acquire worthwhile materials from it. After the inscription is done, Luri throws the Megastone into the Void Eater, while Maddie throws some more Megastones alongside her for the Void Eater to eat up. The monster forms, and Maddie tells the girls to let them attack as usual. Alma and Luri attack with arrows, and Iris aims for the monster's feet while he goes in to attack. Maddie jumps in to stab the eyes and uses a special magic enchant to cut off the legs of the monster, but the monster regenerates its legs instantly. Maddie attacks it further with all of his enchantment spells and uses a spell that will last until either he runs out of magic or the enemy dies out. This spell continues to launch attacks at the monster, piercing through different parts of its body until it puts its head down, allowing Maddie to cut its neck and successfully defeat the monster. Maddie decides to take a look at dungeons outside the capital this time, leaving the academy to survey dragon veins. Edward offers to put Maddie under scholarship at the school, so that the school can benefit from his achievements while making it easier for the school and nation to intervene if he finds himself in any trouble. Maddie takes the offer, and Edward offers to give the rest of the party members the scholarship too, if they would like it. Maddie and his party members take a walk to the Melkia dungeon, an enormous dungeon that has hundreds of floors. Iris and Maddie are surprised to hear that there are cities built over dungeons nowadays, as there was nothing like that during his days. It will take them several days to get to Melkia from their current location if they go around the forest of Chikirisubia, but if they go through it, it would take them less than a day, which is a monster den, and rumors say that there is a really smart monster showing up there lately. The thought of a smart monster makes Maddie curious, and he concludes they pass through the forest. Luri and Alma feel unsettled, and Iris tells them that she can always fly them out of there. Maddie reminds her that her wings are still healing, so her flying is restricted. They decide to take a rest midway in the forest, and Maddie goes to hunt them up something to eat. As soon as he leaves them, he notices countless monsters' magic signatures coming after him, but moving in a conspicuously orderly fashion, like they're being commanded. Maddie notices an intentionally restrained magic signature among them, and suspects it to be the smart monster. The smart monster attacks Maddie, and Maddie brings it back to them as the result of his hunt. Luri identifies the monster to be a wisdom monkey, which is a famously smart monster. He brings out a bull-like monster for them to prepare to quench their hunger. Luri refines iron from the ground to form a pot and other cooking utensils, while Iris decides to chop down some firewood. Alma offers to gather local plants that they can use to make soup. After having their delicious meal, they decide to continue their journey. Maddie tells them that he thinks the forest monsters are afraid to approach them because of Iris, and his beating the wisdom monkey is enough reason for them to stay away, so they have the chance of getting to Melkia before sundown. They arrive at the dungeon city of Melkia, and although they expected the place to be more lively, they meet a city that is far more bleak than the capital. They get to the front of a magical lamppost, but notice something strange about how the magic flows. Magic equipment is usually powered with Magistones, but this lamppost seems to be directly tapped into the dragon's vein in a slapdash fashion. Someone tells them to get away from the lamppost, as it has killed nothing less than 10 people in the current year just from exploding. Immediately, he tells them that the lamppost explodes again. Luri meets the store owner and asks him why they're making something like that. He tells her that they do not have a choice, as it was the Lord's orders. The king stopped them from using Magistones by telling them that it was their most precious export. Maddie asks him if the new king is also the reason why they're underpopulated, and the store owner tells him that a strong monster appeared around the 10th floor, and most of the adventurers were sent in on the king's orders. Maddie buys 4 apples for himself and his party members, and they head to the guild first. On his way, he notices the poor quality of equipment in the area. Before they can enter the dungeon, they need a guild-issued permit, so they head to the guild. The guild attendant advises them against getting a permit by telling them that the permits aren't issued by the guild, but by the king himself, and they'll be subjected to whatever the king says as long as they stay in Melkia. Missions from dungeon exploration to monster hunting come once a month and result in a lot of casualties. Maddie applies for 4 permits, and immediately, a lady comes in screaming that they have a huge number of injuries as a result of the monster attack. and they find it hard to keep up. She asks if there is anyone who knows healing spells, and Matty raises his hand. They're taken to a place that contains a large number of sick people, and Matty is surprised to see this. He figures out that the city cannot even afford a stopgap in a dungeon city that is full of adventurers. He asks why they have so few healers, and he is told that they used to have a number of staff, but they were all driven out by the king as he considered them a waste of money. Matty decides to heal all of them, starting with passive detect to get a quick idea of their status, and then fixing them with numbers based on their injury's severity, starting with the worst among them. He tells the rest of them to cast healing spells in descending order of urgency. Matty uses a healing type that is best with the Crest of Failure to close the blood vessels to staunch the bleeding, heal the damaged organs, and then close the wounds. He tells the others that if they work together, they can save all of the injured, and they do just that, healing all of the injured. Matty asks about the previous king, as he had heard that the previous king knew what he was doing, but he was replaced with a completely incompetent king. He is told that the previous king passed away abruptly in his sleep without any explanation. The alteration of demons in the current time is what caused cities to be built over dungeons, and due to this, Matty suspects that the previous king was killed by demons, and the current king might as well be a demon himself. At night, Matty writes a letter to the headmaster for him to forward to the king. He writes a decoy letter first talking about homework, and hides the main letter under a false bottom in the delivery box to protect the letter against inspection. Alma asks him if it wouldn't be faster for him to deliver the letter personally, and he tells her that it would, but he wants to see what will happen in the dungeon first. He tells them to have a nice rest while they check out the dungeon the next day. The next morning, Matty tells Iris that she almost used her dragon's breath in her sleep earlier, and she could have blown the hole in away. They get to the dungeon gate, and it's just iron, one that a monster could break through easily. Iris opens the door and they all go in. Iris defeated a powerful monster and they took its head back to the guild. The attendant was shocked to see the head of the powerful monster from the previous day lying at her front. She asks how they did it, and Matty tells her that they did it the normal way, but he didn't get involved this time. She tells him that she can buy it, but they wouldn't get paid immediately, as the king has to first confirm it. The woman writes in her report that the 3 girls are beasts, and the boy would be a healer, which would be why he didn't participate in the battle. Matty asks if he can get gold for the rest of the monster immediately, and the attendant is surprised. On their way home after dinner, Matty notices some men coming after them. He knows that the king has been spurred into action and is determined to unmask them. Matty takes a different route to the inn. He uses telepathy to tell the girls to be calm, revealing to them that they are being tailed by people he suspects to be the king's flunkies. He tells them to use a concealment spell and watch the reaction of the people tailing them, and if it's clear that they're hostile, they'll pull the rug out from under them. They appear in front of the stalkers and act as if they have lost their way. The stalker describes the way to their inn, and immediately, they know they have fucked up. They try to hold Matty captive, and Matty acts poorly, like he's helpless. Alma asks them what they want to do with them, and the leader tells her that he knows all about them and that Matty is the weakest of them because he is the party healer. He laughs and tells them that they will be serving their lord now and tells them to do as they are told. Matty tells Iris not to use any weapons and just knock them all out. Iris takes all of them out without using a single weapon. Matty attaches a demon-detecting tracking spell on all of them while they're knocked out as he suspects that they are in bed with demons. The next morning, Matty's letter has been delivered by the king's messenger, and they head out to meet with Ike at a spot where the king won't catch on. Ike brings the response to Matty's letter regarding the king of Melchia's exploitation of the dungeon city. He tells him that on the king's orders, Lord Dokiel Melchia should be taken into custody under the supervision of royal proxy Ike. Matty wishes to arrest Dokiel Melchia himself, and the girls agree with him. He tells Elk that he already cast a tracking spell on Dokiel's underlings, and he knows where he is. Dokiel is at an estate on the edge of town that is closely guarded. Elk asks if he should call for the knight's assistance, but Matty tells him not to, as they can handle it just fine on their own. They get to the front of the estate, and meet the gate closed in the middle of the day, which seems unusual. Matty notices plenty of signatures within the building, and believes that the king is concentrating his defenses. Elk asks if they may have heard of their plans, and Matty tells him that it appears so. Elk suggests they turn back, but Matty tells him that they'll plow through the front gate instead. Immediately they enter the house. They get attacked by the underlings, but Lurie blocks all of their attacks with a single casting. Matty tells her to leave the rest to him as he electrocutes all the guards in the building with just one strike. Dokiel Melchia's room is supposed to be on the second floor, but Maddie's passive detect says that no one is in the building, and instead, all of them are in the basement. The blueprint of the building doesn't show any basement. Maddie finds the entrance to the secret basement and opens up the stairs for them to go through. Dokiel Melchia notices that everywhere is suddenly quiet, and he asks if the intruders have been crushed. He is told that they would have heard about it if the intruders had been crushed. Dokiel doesn't believe that his men could have been defeated so quickly, but as a form of caution, he asks that they take the secret passage to the surface, but before he knows it, Maddie walks in. Dokiel is surprised to see Maddie in, and Maddie tells the girls to come in, but before they can, Dokiel sends more men in to attack Maddie, and to his surprise, Maddie takes them all out. Royal Proxy Elk arrests Dokiel Melchia, and Dokiel tells them that they will pay for it, as terrible things will befall the city if anything happens to him. Maddie knocks him out, while Elk takes him back to the capital for interrogation. Maddie tells Elk that he has other things to do, like finding out how they anticipated their raid. He notices a letter on Dokiel's table that reveals the decision to have him arrested, and they wonder where it came from. Maddie notices faint traces on the letter, and traces it to be from a demon. Maddie believes that the demons are after the dragon vein in the dungeon, as the one there is far bigger than the one in the capital, and if infused with a spell, can cause worldwide calamity. Elk goes to report it to the capital at once, and suddenly, they hear a loud earthquake, and Maddie tells them that the demons have started tampering with the dragon vein. From the magical signature, they know that the demons have spawned a monster horde that is heading their way. Maddie tells them that they will have to get the demons away from the dragon vein right away, as all of Melchia will be in danger if they don't stop them. The monster horde will take about 2 hours to arrive at Melchia, meaning they have 2 hours to head into the dungeon and finish things. At the dungeon, everywhere looks empty like a trap has been set. Maddie gives Iris a spot for her to dig through that would lead them to the dragon vein. Lurie notices a demonic air around the dragon vein, and Maddie tells her that it is probably something the demons rigged up into the dragon vein a long time ago and are now trying to put in the finishing touches. Lurie asks if they can stop whatever it is they're doing, and Maddie tells them to split into 2 teams, while he heads to the floor where the demons are hiding and strikes them. They will stop whatever the demons are trying to get the dragon vein to do, and restore it to normal. He tells Lurie to lead the team while he has already rigged up the dragon vein with a communication circle with unlimited range. While Lurie is trying to restore the dragon vein to normal, Maddie is taking down the demons, and with 1 hour left until the demon horde arrives, Maddie meets with the demon manipulating the dragon vein. Maddie suspects the demon to be using a communication spell also, so he uses Magic Align to tap into it. He hears the other party telling him that Maddie isn't the one disrupting his spell, but his colleague, who is skilled but has a low casting level, is the one doing that. The demon is given the order to destroy Mathias and finish off Lurie. The boss tells the demon to fight cautiously and not underestimate Maddie. They start to attack each other, and the demon repels Maddie's first attack using a barrier that blows up on impact. The demon is given an order to finish Maddie before he destroys the barrier, as a prolonged battle would put him at a disadvantage. Maddie tells Lurie to prepare casting circles 14 and 17, while he and the demon attack each other. The demons have devised a plan that is best suited to fight the Crest of Failure by attacking long range after dodging all of the demon's attacks. The demons move to the second stage, which uses traps, just what Maddie has been waiting for, and as Maddie acts as if he is being lured into the trap, he asks Lurie to activate the 14th casting circle first, which nullifies the traps, and then activate the 17th one, which uses the dragon vein to disrupt communications in the area. The demons have their communications cut, and Maddie continues to fire attacks at the demon's barrier, and then charges in to use his sword to break through the barrier. The demons have their communications restored, and Maddie suspects the demon giving the orders to be an old demon, as it knows about his past life. The demon is ordered to use Disfortune, and Maddie dodges all of his attacks and defeats him in the process. The monsters heading for Melchia began to disappear because Lurie restored the dragon vein. The next thing they have to do is to find the demon giving the orders. The demon taps their communication spell and tells Maddie that he won't be able to trace him back. Maddie notices the magic coming from several kilometers away in a town called Elenia, but he knows that is just a decoy. Maddie tells them that they would be searching for the demon's leader's hideout, and although the enemy thought he could cut off their ability to find him by cutting off the relay in Elenia, the transmission spell still carried a trace of the caster's magic signature. Maddie recorded the signature in a magistone, and would need a device from thousands of years to be able to trace the enemy through the magistone. and pinpoint his location. Matty is close to telling them that he created the device and revealing to them that he's Gaius, but Iris controls him. The device is located at the Radinia Alliance, and with the king's help, they can cross the border smoothly. For now, they head back to the capital. A few days after they left the capital, they arrived back, and on getting there, they found out that the school was gone. When they check around, they figure out that a new second academy building is under construction. The headmaster, Edward, meets with them and tells them that they are rebuilding to make the walls thicker and also erecting a barrier to withstand demon attack. Classes are being held at the first academy, while the students help with the construction as well. At Edward's office, Matty tells him that there is another demon pulling the strings in the dungeon city, and they'll need to cross the border to find him. Edward asks which border, and Matty replies that it's the border with the Radinia Alliance. Edward tells him that he'll make a recommendation and seek their guild's cooperation, as he believes the king would make it a top priority now that demons are involved. Matty offers to help with the construction of the school while they wait for their leave to travel. Matty suggests they use mithril alloy instead of iron, and Lurie suggests that they enchant the building materials to make them more efficient. The king granted them permission, and Edward handed them their border crossing permit and the king's voucher for the Radinia Alliance, and they headed out. This is the first time Luria and Alma have left the Ice Kingdom, and they wonder what the Radinia Alliance is like. The major problem they will face on their way is that entry into the region containing the device they need is heavily restricted, as the magical signature there is so strong that they're afraid a magical calamity will occur. Matty tells the girls that, according to what the headmaster told them, the only way is to increase their adventurer rank, and they'll need to be at least A rank to enter a restricted region. To increase their rank, they have to head to the Radinia Adventurers Guild and complete their ranking test. But if passing the test takes too long, they can try other ways, like making a dark dragon appear above the restricted region as a distraction for them to reach their destination. When they get to Radinia Alliance, Matty tells them that they should get to the guild first. On getting there, they meet a man who recognizes them, telling them that the King of Ice Kingdom asked their guild for help, urging international cooperation. Now that the demons are growing more active, Matty asks to take the Ascension test so he can get to A rank as soon as possible, and normally, he is supposed to start from the G rank and take the test upwards, but he is allowed to skip to the A rank test. The test consists of a mock battle with a pre-arranged proctor who happens to be Gaius. Matty notices Gaius has a high magical signature, high enough for him to be mistaken as a demon. Gaius is a rank S adventurer who thinks about fighting. The original proctor ran off, so Gaius offered to stand in. Although no one has ever passed a test run by Gaius, Matty decides that they start the test. Before the test starts, Gaius tells the girls that they have passed and they should go home while he points to Matty to fight him one-on-one. Gaius already heard of Matty as the famous hero of the Ice Kingdom. Gaius is a combat prodigy who has never lost a one-on-one battle. The evaluation exam starts and Matty asks for the rules. Gaius tells him that the match is over when one of them gets knocked out or gives up. Gaius tells Matty that he doesn't use magic and all he uses is a sword. When Gaius draws his sword, Matty notices a physique enhancement spell. They start to attack each other, and Gaius uses physique spells alongside some enhancement spells but has no idea about it. They match each other blow for blow, and as Matty stops holding back, Gaius's magic power grows stronger. He starts to replicate Matty's moves after fighting with him just once, showing his level of adaptability, and he uses the ability to attack Matty. Matty attacks him with a larger casting strength and hits him away, forcing him to give up. This is the first time Gaius lost a fight, so he asks Matty how he can get as strong as him, and Matty gives him a book he wrote that will help his knowledge of spellcasting. Matty decides not to write the test for S rank, even though he would be the strongest in the land. He tells Gaius that they just need the A rank to enter the restricted territory, which is the Atelis Plains in the Folkia region. Gaius tells them that he heard the atmosphere in the region has changed a lot lately, and checkpoints have also grown stricter too, all of a sudden with parties getting missing on their way there. On their way to the Atelis Plains, they arrive at a checkpoint where they are given passes that would be valid for the main road after checking their documents. The girls believe the process was seamless, but Matty tells them that there's still trouble ahead, as there's a magical code inscribed in the passes that tells the other security personnel that they are high-rank adventurers with questionable motives and should be dealt with immediately. He tells them that the coding technology is the same as that of the demons, meaning that all of Folkia might be under demons' control. Looking ahead, they see visitors who have come to finish them off before they get to the city. Matty decides that they put them all to sleep instead of taking them all out to prevent a commotion. He tells Lurie and Alma to get around behind them and use a magic item to put them to sleep, while he and Iris draw out their attention. Maddie uses a spell to create illusions. When they start to get attacked, Maddie and Iris block all of the arrows fired at them, while Lurie and Alma activate the magical item behind them, and it causes all of them to fall asleep. Lurie and Alma also fall asleep as a result of the magical item. Maddie nullifies the effect on them and wakes them up. When they wake up, he tells them to check the effect range in the future before using it. When they arrive at Folkia, the entire place looks creepy and feels like a demonic magical structure in the city, with over 30 faint signatures scattered all over. Maddie tells her that the reason they feel small is probably because they're concealing them. Folkia is full of demons, and even if it's true that typical demons don't work in groups, demidemons are different. Demidemons are a rare offshoot of the demon race. They can't use any spells, but they work in groups and fight as a team. Maddie tells the girls that if the demidemons are in control of the city, then it's the most troublesome situation he can imagine. With the tight security and them knowing that the city is brimming with demons, they decide to go in through the hidden passage for demons that Maddie can find out. The hidden passage leads them to the city center and is just like the city's sewer system. While they're walking, Maddie's detection spell picks up a demon just ahead of them. They wonder what they would do, and Maddie tells them that they will just pass right by the demon. He uses a stupefaction spell to temporarily dull the senses of the demon, while they walk right past it. At the city center, the townspeople look like they are in some kind of trance. Maddie notices some strange magical signatures also, so he picks up a random person on the street and checks the spell that was cast on him. He tells the girls that it's called thought paralysis and is a type of stupefaction spell. At one point, all of the townspeople line up on their way into a factory and are being cast a thought paralysis spell by a demon. Maddie tells them that they would all have to go inside to check out what it is, so he casts a defense spell ahead that will nullify the thought paralysis spell that they try to cast on them. They act like they're under the spell, and they are allowed to go inside. Inside, the factory looks like they're refining ore with far more advanced equipment on a larger scale of production. Maddie identifies the rock they're collecting to be ranking magical ore, which can be used in explosives when they're refined. A ton of them can blow up an entire kingdom, but would take decades to gather that amount. Seeing a company like this with such a scale of production, Maddie wonders if there's a powerful demon with extensive knowledge of magical technology behind the whole process. Lurie asks him what they should do now, and Maddie tells them that the factory is too dangerous to be left standing, and that thought paralysis would harm the human brain with time, leaving them with no other choice than to take down the demons. The 32 demi-demons are scattered around the city center, and there's a low probability of them getting scattered as they would all be within range of shared consciousness, so Maddie plans to use their teamwork against them. At night, the demons notice an unknown magical signature in Area 51, and immediately they turn to their demon form. Noticing that it's a massive signature, they are ordered to locate and dispatch the source of the signature at once and surround Area 51. But they didn't see any sign of the enemy. They gather around the area and meet Iris. While they were all focused on Iris, Maddie started to cut them down from behind, taking them out of their formation one by one. The leader of the demon watches them from afar but doesn't understand what is going on there. Maddie planned to mask Iris's tremendous magical signature when they first arrived in the city and unmask it all at once, making the demi-demons gather around her while he waits on standby. And if Lurie and Alma see anyone gathering in groups, their job will be to scatter them. Lurie, Alma, and Maddie will have to remain in hiding and take out the demons one at a time. While the demons keep chasing after Iris, Maddie notifies Lurie and Alma of their arrival and throws magistones infused with a mere explosion spell at the demons. While it distracts them, Maddie takes them out from behind. Demidemons are always in contact via shared consciousness, and this allows misinformation to disseminate quickly among them as well. The demons think the town has been rigged with all forms of traps, so they are ordered to stay put and use detection spells to locate the traps. This is just like Maddie had expected, so he tells Lurie and Alma to use the conceal magic to prevent them from being detected. When the demons don't detect any traps or intruders, they continue to move around, and Maddie and his party continue to take them out to different areas of the city. The leader of the demons notices something, so he checks the body of one of the dead demons and picks up 2 magical signatures, and also figures out that he wasn't killed by an explosion, but by a sword, meaning someone is hiding out there and attacking them. He announces this to them, and Maddie tells the girls that they will have to take on the rest of the demons face to face. The leader of the demons is ready to purge the city of its intruders, even if it means that they lose half of the city. As one of the demos volunteers to get the magic crystals from the factory, he gets taken out by Gaius. Maddie notices Gaius' arrival through his magical signature, and Gaius takes down some of the demons, leaving the leader. The leader believes that Gaius has been behind the killings the entire time, so he charges at Gaius with his swords, and the rest of the demons surround him. Maddie takes out 2 of the demons, and Iris takes out the remaining 4, leaving the boss. Gaius and the boss demon continue to attack each other, and although Gaius sustained some minor injuries, he can use the magic spell to destroy the monster. Luri casts a healing spell on Gaius, and the demon stands up again with red eyes and tries to attack them, but Maddie blocks the attack. The demon's magical signature becomes more powerful than before, and he receives a message from the demon he spoke to earlier, telling him that he will soon destroy the seal and revive it completely. The demon turns to dust, and Maddie tells the girls that someone was using powerful magic to animate the corpse, but the body couldn't take it, and the only one capable of such a feat is the big boss controlling the demon in the Melkia dungeon. The commotion brought the crowd out to the town center, and the defeat of the demi-demons lifted the thought paralysis. Gaius goes in to address the humans, introducing himself and taking full control of Folkia under the Emergency Authorization Act. This act allows a high-ranked adventurer to temporarily take control in the absence of the town leader. He meets the foreman after looking for anyone in control, and appoints him as the provisional lord of Folkia. Maddie and his party members were handed a guild permit that allowed them to enter Folkia's restricted area by Gaius. He tells them that he would have to go back to his training, as he cannot go around almost dying every time he slays one measly demon. Maddie and the girls make their way to the device they were originally after. The building looks like it was from an ancient magic super civilization, and Alma wonders what technologies they used to make it. The ruin is one that Maddie created in his past life, and when they get to the top, Maddie tells Iris that the device is inside. They didn't see any entry, so Iris asks if she could break in as her powers are back, but Maddie tells her that she can't break through it as he made it out of sturdy materials. Luri confirms what he just said about him making it, and he tries to cover it up by telling her that Iris might put a dent in it if she attacks it with everything she has. He tells them that the correct way to do it is to infuse the pyramid with magical power, and it automatically opens up. They all use an enhanced physique spell before jumping down as there is no staircase. While Maddie prepares the device for activation, he tells them to go around in search of anything they can use, as there might be old weapons or treasure scattered around. Luri finds a sword that Maddie created while on an all-nighter high. The sword was just designed to look cool and nothing else. Alma finds a spear that is quite heavy for her to carry, and Maddie tells her that Iris has enough magical power to wield it, but it could be dangerous due to its control difficulty, as it can rapidly overheat while evaporating the user and everything around them. Iris finds preserved foods from the ancients, and when she opens them, the smell knocks her out. The device is completely activated, and Maddie puts a part from the refinery in Folkia to analyze so they can track down the person who gave the refining tech to the demons. The wide-ranged magical device can extract the magical signature of anyone who has ever touched the equipment. It reveals data from the magical analysis, and Maddie notices a demonic signature there. Just as he had suspected, the signature happened to be the same as the demon giving the orders to the demon in the dungeon city. Maddie suspects the demon to be working on a plan to defeat all of humanity. He uses the magical signature he acquired from the dungeon to ascertain the demon's location. Everything turns red when Matty uses the machiny, and he finds out that the seal is on the verge of being lifted. The girls ask Matty if he's strong enough to put the seal back, and he tells them that the demon is a significantly dangerous opponent named Zardius. He tells them that basic skills can't work on Zardius, and they can't defeat him at their current state. Matty tells the girls that they might have a chance of beating him if they use an immortality spell and train for 100 years. Iris says they might stand a chance if they had stronger weapons, and Matty picks up the sword to analyze it, looking for more items with magical signatures matching the ones in the ruins, so that they can use powerful magic items from elsewhere in the world against him. All of the weapons Matty made in his previous life have ended up getting scattered all over the world, so he searches for the magic sword at least, and finds it in the capital kingdom of Ys. Matty and his party fly to Ys, and Matty gives Alma and Luri a magistone each that he has designed to react to the magic sword in question. Zardius appears to have completely broken the seal, and he immediately starts to come after them. Matty tells the girls to find the magic sword quickly, while he holds off Zardius. Students of the academy also notice a strange magical signature and suspect that Maddie is coming. They look into the air and see Luri and Alma falling from the sky while they're tracing the sword to the castle's treasury. After landing, they take the shortest route to the castle. Maddie prepares his first attack for Zardius and waits for his arrival. Zardius is currently traveling through a space available to demons, similar to the transportation spell used by the demons to attack the capital. Maddie decides to seal the space before Zardius's arrival and buy himself some time. As Zardius opens the space, Maddie tries to seal the space, but he fails, so he is left with no choice but to fight Zardius. Maddie tells Iris to fire one dragon's breath and pull back, as her presence alone should be enough to keep Zardius in check. Zardius takes the dragon's breath attacks heads on and doesn't suffer a single scratch. Zardius draws out his sword and launches his first attack at Iris. Iris evades the attack with the help of Maddie's multi-layered defense, and immediately after, Zardius attacks Maddie. Luri and Alma get to the treasury, and as they're about to burst through the guards holding them back, the king meets them, and they explain the situation to him, making him grant them access immediately. Zardius is so fast that Maddie cannot see through all of his attacks, and with Maddie's chance of victory becoming exceptionally low, he decides to give up his life to win the battle. Luri and Alma continue their search for the sword, and Luri finds it inside a blue box. Just by opening the box, she can already sense an incredible magic power within it, and she picks it up while they hurry to Maddie. Zardius tells Maddie that he's foolish for thinking he could buy time against him with such meager power. He fires a long-range attack over the entire capital, forcing Maddie to spawn up a defensive spell over the entire capital. Zardius figures out that Maddie is making preparations inside the barrier to resist him, and he knows that his subordinates cannot enter the capital as long as the barrier is there. He asks Maddie what he would do concerning the monsters who were already inside when the barrier was erected, and suddenly the demons that they defeated earlier, Ashril and Deshril, spawned again in front of the girls. With ease this time, they take down Deshril, and Ashril appears in front of them. Ashril asks them to surrender their weapons alongside the sword they took from the treasury, and threatens to kill two of their classmates that he has with him as hostages if they don't surrender their weapons. Maddie senses the demonic signatures in the barrier, and Zardius tells him that he resurrected the bodies of the demons they stored in the capital and magically ordered them to slay his companions. Zardius fires another attack at the barrier again, and this time, defensive spells stand no chance against it. Maddie chases after the attack and defects it somewhere else. Zardius tells him that the reason he can't exercise his full powers is because he keeps covering for the weaklings. He tells him to cast everything aside and show him what humanity's strongest has to offer. The boys in hostage tell the girls not to worry about them and just beat Ashril instead. Ashril asks them if they are okay with seeing them die, and the girls surrender the weapon. Maddie is hoping that Alma and Luri have found the weapon because there would be nothing to stop the destruction of humanity if the magic sword didn't reach him in time. Zardius asks Maddie what else he wants to do, as he no longer has any hope of victory. Maddie refuses to give up on the fight, as he can use his remaining life and magical power to activate the reincarnation spell into the next era, where Zardius's power will have weakened a little, so he can improve his skills in magical combat and plot a comeback. That would have been his best option, but the girls have already put their trust in him, and he doesn't plan on letting them down. Maddie starts his counterattack, and Zardius calls him a fool. As Ashril tries to pick up the weapons, the headmaster and students stop him with their attack from above, and immediately, Luri frees the boys who were held as hostages, while Alma fires her arrow at Ashril. The students also initiate the demon counterattack tactics they trained for and secure Ashril, while Luri and Alma continue their mission. Maddie channels his life energy into his magical power to increase his combat potential, using it as a last resort to hold out until Luri and Alma arrive. Immediately, Luri throws the sword to Maddie, and he grabs it. Zardius stabs Maddie through his back, piercing the blade into Maddie's body. All hope seemed lost as Maddie dropped down, and with tears rolling down her eyes, she screamed out his name, and the stone on his sword shone, and suddenly, he began to elevate. Zardius is shocked to see Maddie still alive, as he had killed him by piercing through his heart. Maddie tells him that was what activated the sword's ability. They continue to attack each other again, but this time, Maddie wields the sword that represents the pinnacle of his craft from his past life, and its condition for activation is the loss of the wielder's life, which in turn revives the wielder with a tremendous infusion of magic. Maddie becomes faster than he was earlier on, and can barely even control his current magic. Maddie tells Zardius that his body is irrelevant this time, as he can simply animate it with magic when he's done, as he did for his demon compatriots. Zardius is shocked as he believes no human should be capable of using such skill. He asks Maddie who exactly he is, and Matty tells him that he's the strongest sage with the weakest crest. Matty goes on to end Zardius in one final slash, and before Zardius vanishes, he tells Matty that he's not the only chaos demon in the world, and that the next demon would surely destroy him. When it was all over, Luri ran to hug Matty, telling him that she was scared to see him die. The headmaster and the others came and told them that the other students had taken care of the demon in the barrier, and no casualties were recorded. Matty tells them they would have to repair the damage they did. Matty first expels the magic power of the sword, as it is a one-use magic sword. The next day, Matty and his party members meet with the king and Luri, thanks him for giving them access to the treasury the other day, which enabled them to defeat Zardius. The king tells them that there's no need for any thanks, as the kingdom was in peril and he was just doing his duty to save it. For the rewards for their deeds, the king grants them titles and lands, but since Mathias has no desire for a title, as he'd like to live his life as an adventurer, the king grants him the very sword that Luri took and also asks him to take anything he likes from the treasury. At the treasury, Matty finds an adamantite alloy arrow that he created in his past life, which he also made a matching bow for at the time. He asks for the bow, and is told that it was declared useless because it was badly rusted. The guard tells him that it was sold to the Isis Company. The Isis Company is the biggest shop in the area and is the major buyer of scrap metal from the palace. They go in and ask for the bow, only to find out that it had been turned into a block of metal mixed with various other metals because they couldn't identify it. Matty thinks about separating them so he could end up with other rare metals. He decides to buy all of their blocks and have them sent to his inn. On their way out, Edward meets with them and tells them that there's an emergency. They meet with Gaius, captain of the Knight's Order. Although Matty has been briefed by the headmaster on his way, Gaius tells him that he received a report of an attack 2 days ago near the border with their neighbor, the Sihil Empire, by 300 of the puppets lying in front of him. Matty analyzes it and notices that the magic circle is intricate and the wood itself is no ordinary wood. He checks and finds out that the puppet is powered by human life energy, meaning it's stealing small amounts of life energy from many humans at once. The only person who could do this is a demon. Gaius asks Matty for his aid once again for the sake of humanity, and Matty accepts.